Okay, very good. Sorry about the delay. We had a little trouble getting one of the commissioners logged into our system here, so we wanted to make sure everybody was logged in. Appreciate you coming out tonight. We are going to get things started. We've got a special guest tonight to open our meeting. We've got Macy Flowers seated in my chair. Macy is a senior at Tecumseh High School. Her parents are Steve and Sarah Flowers. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Macy. Pull that right down and talk loud.
I call this meeting to order.
There we go. Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's call the roll.
Matthews.
Here.
Ingalls. Here. Frazier. Here. Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seahorn.
Here.
Richter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, with that, we've got Father Tom Dahlman from right down the street at Emmanuel Episcopal, and he's going to do the invocation for us.
Let us pray. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Thank you, Father. If you'll join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Item 1 is a presentation of certificate of recognition to Shawnee Police Department staff. So I'm going to meet you guys up front there by the microphone. So we have got a certificate of recognition that we're going to present to Corporal Daniel Chris. And let me just read this and then I'll have a little more to say about it. So we got a certificate of recognition presented to Corporal Daniel Chris this 18th day of December 2023 on behalf of the city of Shawnee to acknowledge his dedication and commitment to serving our community and to recognize his designation as Shawnee News Star's First Responder of the Year. Very, very cool. Come on up here, I want to get your picture. So let me tell you a little bit about this. So Corporal Daniel Christ is being honored with the Shawnee News Star's annual First Responder of the Year award. Corporal Christ has been with the Shawnee Police Department for 10 years. He started in 2014 as a patrol officer and then continued his career, first as a street crimes investigator, subsequently in the Criminal Investigative Division, and most recently in the Gangs and Narcotic Unit. In June of this year, he started as a canine handler. Corporal Christ and his canine partner Locke worked special assignments Together they comprise the Shawnee PD's Explosives Detection Unit. They frequently check out the courthouse and city hall to make sure we all stay safe. Prior to joining the Shawnee Police Department, Corporal Crisp served 8 years in the National Guard and another 3+ years at the Potawatomi County Public Safety Center. The City of Shawnee extends a heartfelt thank you to Corporal Crisp for his dedication and continued service. Corporal Crisp and his canine partner are an invaluable asset for the police department and the entire community, absolutely. And thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate all you do for us. I know you got some folks trying to get your photo here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, item 2 is citizens' participation. Same rules as always, 3-minute limit per person, a 12-minute limit per topic. And first, it looks like we have Kelly Mulligan. How are you tonight, Kelly?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm a little nervous, so
That's okay.
please excuse that. Mayor, commissioners, and fellow citizens. My husband has been a citizen of Shawnee since 1970. He was 10 years old. 3 years ago, we moved down here because downtown was up on the uprising. They'd redid the sidewalks and stuff. We had 3 business properties down here. So we tried, or are in the process of putting like a showroom or living quarters into a warehouse. Downtown was on the upswing at that time, and now we regret our decision. I've been part of Downtown Citizens on Watch for about the past 14 months, and we have made a difference. But at the same time, having a full-time job and then coming home and then dealing with what we have to on a daily basis, me cleaning up the alleyways, going down Main Street, is a bit overwhelming. That's not what we signed for. When I moved down here, I used to feed, and then at one point, I got a pair of shears held up against my neck, so I stopped. I mean, I still give when I can. This past Saturday, yeah, it was Saturday, I believe it was, there's a pregnant dog along the wall at Philadelphia and Main Street that's pregnant, that was tied up against a pole. I asked if the dog had water or food because it was not ready available. I ended up taking food and water to the dog. Anyways, I had some stuff written here, but it's probably just better if I ad-lib. But on November 9th, I was assaulted while walking my dog down Main Street in front of Hamburger King. A bunch of the downtown military, or a bunch of the residents downtown, I'm part of military too, but pitched together to get cameras. And luckily, when I was assaulted by a vagrant, she's 21, I'm 53, Ken caught it on video, not the actual assault, but I called the cops, they responded, they did a very good job. And then here, like Thursday before, I was on my way home from work and there was the girl. I would like to say kudos to Corporal Ruiz, I hope I'm saying his name right. They were able to arrest her. She did have outstanding warrants for petty larceny and for failure to appear. But however, he did tell me that if it was just for fines, that all they can do, they couldn't arrest her. 3 minutes? Okay,
Yes,
all
ma'am.
right, that's it. Anyways, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up is Sarah Inselman. Are you not wanting to speak, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I saw you sitting there, but I want to make sure you knew.
after I had signed my name in, I was kind of asked as a volunteer for the city that I ought not be speaking. So I'd be happy to give my time to anyone else.
You can't give your time to anyone else, but you can just cede your time, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Rob Morris.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'll try and be quick as usual. Number 4 on the guidelines for citizens' comment and participation, it says that you can't speak about candidates, litigation, pending ballots, and so on. Well, actually, when y'all sued me in court, the judge told the city attorney that sure sounded like censoring of speech. So last month, when y'all stopped Miss Mulligan I apologize, Miss Mulligan from speaking, you shouldn't have. Next time, let her finish. Next for me, former Commissioner Flood was renting to 4 houses, and when he resigned, one lady and her kids became homeless, along with the other 3 houses. I don't know if they were families or individual people, but 4 total houses of people who were paying rent are now homeless because of Travis Flood, who was accepting cash rent for those urban renewal properties that are owned by the city. I'd love an explanation of how that works. Let's see. Oh, the former tenants paid rent, if I didn't say that, just to make sure. The sit and lie policy tonight, it's only fair if you do it citywide. But if you do it citywide, it means that none of us get to use the parks. Because if a mother's sitting in a park watching her kids play on the playground, technically that's sitting, so you can't do that. So she'd have to walk around the whole time. But if we were able to, as a collective commission, decide what the difference is between a vagrant that has all their belongings and a mother that's watching their kids, then we could do it citywide, and it actually would work. Because right now, you're going to push everyone from downtown further north. And eventually, you're going to hit a neighborhood that ain't going to put up with it. You probably don't want to see how that works out. Closing the park. Since we're going to close Celebration of Life Park, which, by the way, Ann Davis was a saint of a woman that's better than me and anyone in this room as far as I'm concerned. And we just took a giant turd all over that when we gave them a proclamation saying how wonderful she was, and now we're going to close the park that was there because of her. The gazebo was there because of her. Man, that really shows how we care about people from Shawnee, doesn't it? Next, for the depot. As said by the DA's office in the Polk County Excise Board meeting, we can actually use TIF dollars for the depot. So does that mean we don't actually have to take any money from the Capital Improvement Fund or the General Fund? I apologize if I got that one wrong. But why can't we use the TIF money? And the last one, why are we making Lake One only available to non-motorized watercraft? So that means kayaks. It does. Kayaks or canoes. No more boats at all. That's been a fishing lake for the 43 years I've been alive. It should still be a fishing lake now. We used to have tournaments out there and even stock those lakes. It'd be nice to go back to that. You want to talk about bringing in revenue to Shawnee? Fishing tournament does that. They buy water, ice, pop, all kinds of stuff. Lures, bait, whatever. Gas, oil. Seems like a good idea. Love some answers on those questions. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you very much. Next up, Ben Parker. How are you, Ben?
How are you? Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your dedication to this city. My name is Ben Parker. I've lived in Shawnee for well over 15 years. I've come today to urge you guys to please vote no on the ordinance included in item 11. I just don't believe that this proposed ordinance is what Shawnee stands for. It's deeply disturbing and lacks humanity. Criminalizing homelessness has never been what I thought this commission stood for, but I guess that has possibly changed. In the last several months, we've been in the news multiple times for ordinances like this and ordinances requiring a permit to feed the homeless, which I do understand is, a rational choice to make to control feeding operations and reduce the dysfunction and litter created by those groups. In the 2020 and 22 elections, which all but one of you were elected through, I thought we had voted for sanity and humanity over knee-jerk reactions. But I allege we did not. That's really all I have to say. Thank you guys for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Floyd Thompson. How are you, Floyd?
What I want to address this about is the homeless. There's a lot of good ones, and there's a lot of veterans, and anybody can get down on their luck, just like that tornado that hit Shawnee. It could put each and every one of you out on the street. So you might want to think that. We're supposed to be living in the land of the free. My ancestors fought for freedom, and I don't see how y'all can break civil rights by some city ordinances that you made up overnight. I thought we were supposed to vote on everything instead of overnight meetings where y'all pass ordinances to pass these laws. I don't understand it. And that's all I got to say. I don't approve of it. I think it's not right. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next is Monty Porter. There he is. How are you, Monty?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I wanted to speak to you about some other topic, even though I'd like to advocate for the homeless. I think there's probably plenty of people here to do that tonight. Just as a disclosure, I'm on the City Planning Commission, and we heard what I'm going to speak to about tonight, and I just want to make sure you guys know that. Well, the Shawnee Twin Lakes Master Plan. First, let me say I think it's incredibly well conceived. It's not often that a city takes time to fully understand all the dynamics around their own water supply, especially when it comes to development and recreation. But I'm also wanting to come to you as a concerned citizen and also somebody who's been a water quality professional for 35 years now. Our lake is somewhat self-contained. We have a very small watershed that comes into it. And that's a good thing. It limits the amount of pollution that can come into the watershed. But in a lot of ways, it's also a limiting factor for us because it limits the amount that can actually go out. Residents' time in our lake is incredibly high. One of the things that we've seen over the past 15 to 20 years in that lake is certain constituents have continued to increase, even though the lake currently is probably one of the better lakes in Oklahoma. One of the fears that I've always had, I've worked mostly on streams and rivers throughout the state, so I'm not a limnologist, but I've worked on lakes as well, is that when small lakes begin to develop, oftentimes it's done with the best intentions. And one of the things that I saw in the master plan is, and I'll come back to say again, I think it's incredibly well conceived, is there needs to be intentionality about how we handle conservation. Oftentimes we put what's window dressing on something with the intention of handling it as the development begins to occur. This probably won't be the last time I come and talk to you about this, but what I would like to request of you is that as we move forward with this master plan, we actually put conservation on the front step. We see that as one of the more important things that we're trying to do in that plan to protect the water body, to allow it to be developed. And some of that intentionality, I think, is actually developing a comprehensive conservation plan that has some teeth to it. Oftentimes, whenever development begins, and I've seen this in various parts of the state, when development begins, the intention was there to make sure the lake didn't suffer from a water quality perspective or from a quantity perspective. But usually it winds up happening because as you develop something, you increase the ability of those things that we want to keep out to come in. So I think, where am I at, Joe? Yeah, 10 seconds. 10 seconds. So please, as you consider this, I don't think there's a vote tonight, as you consider this, make sure that conservation is put at the top of it. And I'll probably see you again in January, maybe February. I think this is an important time.
Time's up.
Y'all have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's see, looks like next is Jennifer Allen. How are you, Jennifer?
Good. I don't know how this normally works.
You can bend that down like you need it. There you go.
Okay, I don't know how this normally works. I don't normally know how to get better outcomes without dialogue, so I guess I just talk and maybe somebody answers someday. But about the homeless population, the ordinance of the sit and lean, I guess my question is, has anybody included those people that are going to be burdened the most with enforcing that, because if not, we're just setting ourselves up to create additional problems and not solve anything. Of course, we have to have other outcomes for the homeless. We can't, humanity is super important, but it looks like we're going to be taxing law enforcement, our court system, and the jail. Are we bringing them to the table and asking what supports and resources do you need, or what other alternative outcomes do you see us doing instead of setting these ordinances? Again, you'll find me very in the middle. I think the homeless need to have basic rights and care, but I also very much think this is not a good choice for our city financially. And I guess that's it. Nobody answers, right?
No, ma'am.
No, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate you taking time to talk to us. Jennifer Gaskill is next. How are you, Jennifer?
Good. On June 27th, I was illegally handcuffed and told I was being arrested because my husband refused to show his identification to Shawnee police officer Jacob Blazer. He and Officer Gary Moore were called to our residence by Animal Control to issue us citations for failure to have city tags for our dogs. My husband told the Animal Control workers to leave our property. They could mail the tickets to us. Oklahoma is not a mandatory ID state, and you do not have to provide identification while you are on your own property. My husband then went inside, leaving me to try and smooth things over and hopefully come to a resolution on this. The officer then asked if I had my identification. I stated it was inside my home and turned to go get it. He then blocked access into my home and told me that I was not allowed in. If my husband did not immediately come back outside and provide his identification, that I was going to jail. I was then shoved against the house, handcuffed, and told I was being arrested for obstruction. We filed a complaint with Shawnee Police and received a letter from Captain John Goss stating he had reviewed the evidence and found no wrongdoing. According to the police report, Blazer stated that he put me in handcuffs because I attempted to, quote, push past him to go in my home. We have security cameras which recorded the entire event and show that I never made a move during the entire incident and that his statements do not match what actually happened. When we requested his body cam footage, we were told that he did not have it on. Multiple emails and phone calls to city council, the city manager, and others have gone unanswered. What happened to me should not have happened, and I ask the council to look into the corruption within the Shawnee Police before another incident such as this happens.
Thank you very much. Next is Tina Bridenstine. How are you, Tina?
I'm okay. Sorry. Concerning the sit or lie ordinance, I find it really disappointing that you tackle this a week before Christmas and decide that fictional characters like Scrooge or Marley are the ones who have the right idea. To misquote Rent, you can't quietly pass an ordinance like this and then watch It's a Wonderful Life on TV. You could attempt to act with compassion and at the same time attack the root of the problem. You could examine city codes and make it easier to build affordable housing, or enact changes that could protect tenants, such as eviction protection or rent control policies. You could speak to the human beings who are affected and find out what would help them. Keep in mind, you do not just serve downtown business owners. You are servants to our unhoused population as well. You should not criminalize people who are already down on their luck and throw fines at those who can least afford them. And also, the legality of ordinances such as this is questionable. The U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in Martin v. City of Boise that governments cannot enforce laws barring the homeless from sleeping outside unless the people have other options for places to go. Second, not only do laws that criminalize homelessness violate basic human rights, but they also have been shown to be ineffective and costly. At best, they merely shift the unhoused into other neighborhoods or overcrowd shelters, and they cost between $1,600 and $6,200 per person annually. By all means, form your chains link by link, but know that if Dickens were alive today, you would be the villains in his novels if you pass this. That this is even on the agenda, I have never been so ashamed to live in Shawnee.
Thank you very much. William, is it Ruth? There you go. Sorry about that.
Mayor.
My name is William Ruth. I'm the vice chairman of the Potawatomi County Republican Party. And just wanted to say we're glad to see some this homeless situation being addressed. I know there's a lot of feelings on both sides of how everything's being looked at. I did want to say one thing, that our state senator Shane Jett is working right now with a lot of the churches trying to get something put together for a coalition to help address this as well. So that's the only reason I wanted to come up here, just to let you know that that's something that you may want to look into also at some point. And that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next is Edwina Butler Wolf. How are you, Edwina?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I have a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention, and one of them is on December 2nd, it was a very nice day, and our electric suddenly goes off. That was on a Saturday, and then the whole town, the whole neighborhood, my neighborhood is out west of town. And then on Sunday, which was okay, Saturday, I thought, well, there's something going, maybe a squirrel got in the transformer or something and knocked off the electric, so that does happen. But on Sunday, the same thing happened again. Again, there was no storm out, it was clear, so I contacted my ward, Ward 6, which was Lauren, and thank you for responding to me on a Sunday. And she had said that in her text that it appeared that there was some kind of repair being done, and the citizens of Shawnee was unaware. So it would be nice to know if something like that happens, if maybe the citizens of Shawnee are aware that our electric is about to go off. It stayed off for a couple hours, but then last Sunday, it hasn't gone off since December 3rd, but last Sunday there was a section in Ward 6 out on 45th Street that the electric did go off again. So I'm just wondering if what's been going on, if something came in the newspaper and I missed it in the newspaper, then I apologize for bringing this subject up. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention about the electricity. And another thing is the city lights, the stop lights on Kickapoo, when are we going to get that fixed? I know the tornado came through, and I know it takes a little time for supplies and to repair different fixtures around, but it's been since April, and traffic is really bad on Kickapoo, especially now with it being Christmas. Shopping and everything. And I also wanted to bring to the attention to the city repairs, city maintenance, that the street lights on Leo and 45th Street has been out for about 4 or 5 months. And that's a very dark area there on 45th, and it's kind of hard to make that turn onto Leo to go south. And I know a lot of our neighbors in my area uses that street, and it's hard to focus on where that turn is because of that street light is out. So it's been out for a while. And I also want to talk a little bit about the homeless, the ordinance that you're about to pass, whether you pass it or not. Just enforce it.
Next is Molly Daniels. How are you, Molly? You can bend that down if you need to. There you go.
Okay, so there was a family lost a house 2 weeks ago and burned down. They're all left outside now, and they have 2 kids. And y'all want to pass a law? They can't sleep, they can't sit out there, and there are some out there has to sit because of their health. And I have said before, if we work together and get a building, we don't have to grind no more and get this all over with. But no, y'all have to get your way and pick on the people out there. I don't call them homeless. Keep on doing it. They will always be out there. They're my brothers and sisters, just like y'all. But y'all don't care. In my heart, I love y'all. I love them, just like God said, to love everybody, just like Jesus. Think about Jesus. Rode a donkey in the heat. He smelled. Have anybody thought about that? No. And I'm going to tell the truth. I didn't think of that till I had somebody at the church told me he was homeless. But I shouldn't have said that word. But this, Shawnee, it will be down. They will bring the people out there. But it's still the main business. They will lose their business of picking on them. If the people would get out there and see what they need, they would be off the streets. I have been out there. I've got 3 people really wants help. There's more, but I can't do it all on my own. I need help.
3 minutes, Ms. Davis.
Okay.
Thank you, Molly.
I hope y'all get your way.
Next, Ms. Ramirez, is it J? And I'm so sorry, but I just cannot read that.
It's okay. Hello, my name is Janine Ramirez.
There you go. How are you?
I'm here today, I don't know if you could hear me. Hello, Mayor, City Commissioner, and citizens of Shawnee. Again, my name is Janine Ramirez, and I am a citizen of Shawnee, and I have lived here for 23 years. My husband and I have raised a family here and not far from this area. And as a resident of Shawnee, I have seen tremendous changes, some good and now some not so good. I'm here today to speak for the first time because of a purpose. As a citizen, I feel the need to speak on an incident that occurred on South Minnesota Avenue, not far from here. I was taking a walk with my grandson and was arrested by Officer Starkey because of obstruction, not giving my ID. Then says I was walking in the middle of the roadway when a sidewalk is available. I took video and it shows that we don't have safe sidewalks on each side. This also happened in front of my grandson, and I have been working diligently on putting the police in a better light. That way he's able to trust police. But I feel like the city needs to hold the police accountable for their actions. We've had so many incidents here within our city and now county. And I also would like to know how another ordinance is going to solve these problems with the homeless. And that is my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Rod Roberts. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mayor?
Doing well.
Mayor and Commissioners, I just wanted to get up here and say I've never been here before, and I am a property owner in downtown. I grew up in Shawnee since I've been 13 years old, so I've seen the whole deal of Main Street move, to the north and everything get disassembled, but I love Shawnee. I'm glad I grew up here. I'm born in Oklahoma City and still like the city, but Shawnee was a very good place to grow up for me. Didn't get in much trouble. My concern is, of course, about the homeless situation. And I'm a compassionate person, and I've seen this come on. I bought a couple of properties here when it wasn't an issue, and it's became an issue. I've subsequently sold the property, to a business partner of mine from Oklahoma City and done some renovations on it. But I'm not an uncompassionate person, but I'm not sure, change is going to happen whether we want it or not, and it always does. And I'm not sure that, we need to take the right path to making a decision that's best for the property owners. We've had things stolen and windows broke out on Main Street right after the parade a couple of years ago, the Christmas parade. And I know that everybody's working towards the common deal. What's the best solution for this? So my issue is, if we pass this deal, the enforcement of it and everything's got a trade-off in cost. I know that we had a meeting down at the library. I've been to both of those, or three, I think. And we talked about finding a place for them to go or building some kind of deal. I didn't know if that was still off the table or if things are still looking like we'd have to. I don't see this as being a permanent solution. I see it might help, but, then we got other costs and other, things that don't bring revenue in. But we need to keep on the track of renewing the downtown. I was really excited. I used to ride my bike all the way from Garrett's Lake Road to 177 down here when I was a kid, just to go downtown and buy parts and keyboards, hardware, and everything else. So, I would like to help if I can. We've got 3 properties, and I think we need a little bit more bonding on what the real, in-term solution, instead of just trying to put a Band-Aid on things, will be. But I'm all for the city, and I've lived here most of my life since 13 years old, and whatever we can do, if we can have more meetings, or have some of the business owners have a consortium with the city a little closer or something. I mean, they don't want to be there. I mean, we don't necessarily want them to be like that either. I mean, so.
3 minutes, Mr. Roberts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes, sir.
I apologize, I did not address it when it came up, but I was instructed before we started that there might be some desire to extend public comment, but we have just passed that point where that would be necessary by motion, if that is the will of the commission.
So, I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'd be happy to make a motion. So I'd make the motion to extend the overall time to speak during citizens' participation, limited to the remaining individuals already signed up, providing a maximum of 3 minutes per individual, and to remove the time limits on specific topics.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question before we vote.
Yes, sir.
How many more do we have?
Oh, that's a good question, Daniel. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8. Any other questions?
I mean, my preference would be to extend it another 12 minutes, but on the topic, but I'm willing to go along if it's the will of the commission.
We have a motion and a second. I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's my preference. So.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, we'll just vote on it and see how that goes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. If that doesn't work, we'll do something else. And motion passes 7-0. So with that, we are up to Mr. Gary Berlin. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well.
Commissioners, Joe. I own property on Main Street also, Mr. Roberts, and I know it's a difficult problem we're facing here with the homeless. And we're not trying to vilify the homeless or anything like that, but it would be nice if we could like get out and walk the streets and feel safe. And to be honest with you, I don't feel that safe down there anymore like I used to. I bought a piece of property here in 2017. Me and my wife painstakingly restored it. We've got a lot of good tenants, and I've had very good luck. Things have worked out as well. The city's done great jobs fixing up the infrastructure before, trying to get people in and, you know, make the rules kind of bend to repopulating down here. And I would just like to see something. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but with a little bit of teeth in it to just, I don't know, get rid of some of this stuff, the crime out of it. I mean, I hate people being in homelessness. It's difficult, but just something to where we could, as we're trying to bring downtown back, just where we could be able to do that and feel comfortable down there, and where people would feel comfortable coming down and spending money at our businesses and whatnot. That's about all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate you coming to talk to us. Let's see, next is, now, Father Delman's still here? Because he had signed up, but he had on there that he's doing the prayer, so I think he signed up thinking he needed to do that, do the invocation, which is not the case. Okay, so Father Delman has left. So Daniel, I lied to you, there's 7. And then we've got, is it Anthony Ballin? I'm having a heck of a time. I see the address here, and I don't want to read that out to everybody. See if you see that more than I do.
My handwriting is bad, maybe I can interpret.
There you go.
Valentine?
Valentine, Ballin.
Is the last name Valentine?
Yeah, I mean, looks something like that. Maybe Valentine, is it Ruth? I am so sorry, but I'm having a hard time reading this. Who is back there? Danny, where'd Danny go? I was going to see if maybe he could help me find this person. Let's move on to the next one, and we'll come back to that. Mark Crook. And I'm going to make a mark by this one. We'll make our best attempt to contact this person. Mark.
Good evening,
How are
Commissioners.
you, sir?
I would like to first thank you all for being here, taking your time and giving it the way that you do. I also would like to thank you for your fortitude in taking on difficult issues. Obviously, from this evening, we've got some difficult issues before us. And in reference to that, in Article 1, Chapter 20, the amendments that's being proposed to that, I would like to tell you that I am in full support of that. I encourage you to vote to pass that. This directly affects a lot of people. It not only affects people that are there on the sidewalks with the plight that they're in, but it also affects property owners in residential neighborhoods. It affects property owners in the business neighborhoods. So there's got to be some balance found there. I believe that there's one inherent problem which has already been addressed with this, and that is that this is a specific area we're talking about. I would like to see this amendment to address the entire city. I don't live downtown. I live in a residential area, and this subject certainly affects my area. It affects my property value. It affects my children and my grandchildren being able to enjoy the area. There's a park in close proximity to where I live. It affects their ability to go utilize that park. The park has become virtually unusable. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you and to encourage you to pass this and to consider making it a citywide thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Next is Carrie Keck. How are you tonight, Carrie?
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Carrie, could we take time out
Yes,
just
of course.
1 second? I'm going to see if Danny can. Okay, but you're pretty sure. Okay. You remember the person though visually? Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your help. Carrie, I apologize.
No problem, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and members of the commission, and the residents of our community. My name is Carrie Keck, and I live here in Shawnee. I grew up here, and and remember the thriving downtown area. I understand the issues to businesses, residents, and our community that have resulted from the unhoused population in our city. But criminalizing homelessness costs significantly more in taxpayer dollars than providing housing and supportive services. It costs taxpayers more than $31,000 a year to criminalize a single person suffering from homelessness, while studies show that the cost of providing supportive housing to be around $10,000 per year. Oklahoma already has the third highest incarceration rate in the United States. Instead of using our taxes for things like health care, schools, and roads, we end up spending a disproportionately large number of dollars on locking people up, people who could have been reformed through diversionary programs. Do we really want to spend more of our taxpayer dollars incarcerating people instead of providing long-term solutions that can help them become members of our society, or can help them become participants in our society? Additionally, the majority of people experiencing homelessness in our community suffer from mental health issues. I doubt that our police, who are already strapped, want to be the main response to people experiencing mental health issues. If this ordinance is passed, does the jail even have the capacity and the training to handle these individuals? Homelessness is a problem, but this ordinance is not the right answer. I urge the council to vote no on this proposed ordinance and instead consider providing resources by taking advantage of grants and additional resources available statewide and nationwide to help move people out of homelessness and poverty and become participants in our workforce and our economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to try this name again. We think it's Anthony, and the last name looks like starts with either a W or a V. I don't see any, so we're gonna move on then. Tammy Mack. How are you, Tammy?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
Mayor, commissioners, I've lived here for 49 years. I used to love Main Street. When I was 10 years old, 11, 12, 13, our parents would take us down there and drop us off and pick us up that evening. We knew the business owners. We never caused a problem. We had so much fun. That was always a dream of mine when I got older, was to own a business on Main Street, just for that reason. Well, I did open a business, and I stayed as far away from Main Street as I could because of the way it's got these last 10 years. And with this proposal that you're doing, you're putting a Band-Aid on it. You're putting a perimeter. So they're going to move out of that perimeter. It has already happened. I ran off 4 homeless people from my business Saturday. One of them with a machete this long. So if you're going to do this, why Band-Aid it? Why not make it citywide? And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Andrew Johnson. There he is. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. Good evening, mayors and members of the City Commission. I just want to say, as someone who is a Shawnee voter who is currently attending university in a different city, that actions such as the no sit, no stand ordinance proposal on the agenda this evening grabbed the attention of people from around the state, including regional media, and it's not for a good reason. And this is not what my hometown of approximately 12 years to be known for. I would urge the Commission to vote against the proposal and instead pursue policies based on humanity and what I believe I have heard from members of the city staff, that the only true solution to the problem of homelessness is housing. The question is if the city government is going to be a part of that solution and how. On another note, I am glad at how many people I've heard speak this evening in opposition to the proposed ordinance. I think there's a certain group of people in our community who are very loud about speaking about how the city government should be tough on the homeless. And I think it's easy to believe that they're the majority, and I don't think that's the case, and I don't think local elections show that to be the case. So I am glad to hear compassion for the homelessness so represented tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have one more. We have Noel Worthington. How are you, Noel?
Good. Hello. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for addressing this problem. How you get something done, you have to first address it, and I appreciate you guys doing that. I have a friend, downtown, lifelong friend, Ed Williams. He's getting ready to close the shop up. I feel like it has to do with some of this, so I appreciate you addressing the problem. I grew up in Shawnee. I was in the National Guard here for about 10 years, went to Egypt, actually kind of the border where things are happening right now. Spent a year there and came back, and I don't know, I kind of feel like these homeless people are all Palestinians, and I wonder how we're going to deal with them, you know what I mean? And I feel also, I worry that it's going to open us up for a lot of litigation because it's too wide of a law or ordinance. It's going to be void for vagueness, meaning that if the common man of common intelligence can't understand the law, and there's a lot of people mixed up about it already, that they're required to guess what the law is, then that kind of leaves it up to arbitrary judging, policing, and that's not really, be more specific. If it's illegal to camp, make it illegal to camp and make it citywide. It's the same thing. This has already been passed in Portland, Oregon, and they almost bankrupted them, so then they had to go to a new law, which was, okay, instead of no sitting and no standing, just no camping. And then that's also on hold now, if you notice. So, there's other cities that's already went through the same process, so before we rush into something, let's take a look at those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That should be our last speaker. So that gets us to item 3, which is the consent agenda. Does anybody got anything they need to pull up consent agenda?
3A.
If not, do we 3A?
3A.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone like to make a motion for everything but 3A?
Move to approve item 3 with item A pulled.
So, there you go. I'll go there. So,
I'll second.
Daniel. Second by Darren. And that's for approval of 3 with the exception of A. So we will call the question. And motion passes 7-0. So that's got us to 3A. Anyone have a motion on that?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 3A.
Daniel and Cammie. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for approval of 3A. We will call the question. Motion carries 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. Item 4 is presentation of the Pet of the Month by Animal Control. Do we have a? I think we do. Looks like we have a dog.
Good evening. I have a shy one tonight.
Yeah, I can tell.
So this is Toon. He's approximately a year-old lab mix. As you can tell, this is overwhelming for him. This is his first time out, but he's super sweet. He gets along with other dogs and children. His adoption fee is $5. That includes a neuter and a rabies shot.
Very good. Well, sorry we made you wait so long,
Nope,
but
that's
he's
all right.
well worth seeing. Nice dog. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I think he's going to stay. Huh?
Rob, you got you a dog.
Okay, item 5 is consideration of the utilization of the State of Oklahoma Roof Asset Management Program through the Oklahoma Office of Management and Enterprise Services, OMES, Construction and Properties Department for roofing services at the Recreation Center. And our Assistant City Manager, Danny Weiss, is up. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This item is a companion item with the next item, so item 5 and 6 are related to one another. This program through OMES is a program to, it's through their Construction and Properties Department. It's a asset management program for roofing. Similar to state contract type situations, local government entities, state agencies are able to take advantage of this program. What this program does is it does a competitive procurement process to get line item pricing for roofing contractors. They take care of the Construction and Properties Division of the state, administers designing, bid administration. They handle some inspection processes and invoicing processes and lots of different things kind of for oversight of projects. And through this program, they offer 10 and 20-year terms for different roofing materials and different roofing contracts. What this program allows the city to do is take advantage of that contracted pricing and are able to get lower procurement for roofing projects. This item is to allow us to participate in this program. They do charge a 3.5% administrative fee for this service, which is well below what design cost would be for a program or a project of this size. The item total for this is $35,535.15, which would be well below what we would have paid a designer to design this and help administer this. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. This is specifically related to the Recreation Center roofing project that was identified in the 2018 sales tax.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Questions? No questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Mark and Darren. We have a motion for approval and a second on item 5. We will call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 6, consideration of a contract with Universal Roofing and Sheet Metal through the Oklahoma Roof Asset Management Program for roofing services for the Recreation Center. Mr. Weiss, it is all yours again.
It's me again. As I mentioned, this is a companion item to the last item. What the CAP program does is it assigns maintenance areas for different roofing contractors. For this area, there were 2 that we could choose from. Staff has been working with Universal Roofing and Sheet Metal on this project. They've come out and done a bid and worked it up based on the line item pricing for this project. It is a full replacement of the existing roof. Again, this project was identified in the 2018 sales tax, and I can tell you is very much needed to be completed so that we can begin to protect the inside of this building. The contract is for $1,015,261.57, and it will replace the existing roofing system with a PVC membrane, and it will have a 20-year warranty. Again, this would be administered through the program we just approved to take a part in. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Danny, I've got one, just because I've had it asked of me. Some people are confused which building this is, so.
So the recreation center is the municipal auditorium and the recreation offices and senior center. That's all there together as one building.
So it's that whole complex up there.
And parts of that building have had roofing work replaced already at this time. That will stay, but all of the old existing roof is what we're replacing.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? How about a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Darren and Cammie. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 6. We will call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 7, consideration or proposal with H.W. Lochner to provide design engineering services and the support of, am I reading that siting?
Siding.
Siding, very good, thank you. And bidding services for a temporary terminal building at the Shawnee Regional Airport, SNL. It's your show tonight.
It is me again for at least 2 more items in a row. Like the last 2 items, this item and the next one are companion items. As you know, the airport terminal at the Shawnee Regional Airport was damaged in the April 19th tornado and is uninhabitable. We can't use it. Staff have been working out of a temporary office that was a lease space. It's very small, and it does not allow for any kind of the amenities for pilots or anything like that that we have traditionally offered our customers. Additionally, it was someone's office before we moved into it. There is some minor security and personal space issues that are going on there, in addition to it's not really designed to use as an airport terminal in any way, as it's very small. Staff have been working with both OMAG, our insurance carrier, and FEMA on potential temporary solutions for this. We've come up with a temporary solution, but that will require some engineering and design work, siting and bidding services, as it were. Lochner is our on-call engineer. They've been working at the airport for a number of years. I'm sure you guys recognize their name. And so what this item is for them to design where we would set this building and work through the administration of bidding, a little bit of site preparation that has to occur in order for us to be able to set a temporary facility. They'll work to make sure that we maintain all FAA compliance issues and fall within that, which is why we wanted to work with them. The scope of services include evaluating proposed sites, preparing plans and specifications to submit to FEMA for authorization, preparing the plans and bidding documents, providing technical support, and analyzing the bid results once we put this site preparation out for bid. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for Danny? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 7.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Mark and Daniel sounded like. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 8, consideration of a contract with Mobile Modular to provide temporary airport terminal facilities. Your turn.
Again, as mentioned, this is a companion item to the previous item. Staff solicited a request for proposals for firms to supply a temporary facility. We asked for them to tell us how they would do that instead of us specifying how best to make that happen. We received 8 separate proposals that essentially they're all these construction trailers that you see when you see some sort of large construction project going up. The various responses, the differences were mainly in the pricing structure. We received some proposals for leases. We received some proposals to purchase. We had a lease to purchase proposal. Staff then reviewed alongside our disaster recovery consultant. We reviewed those proposals and scored them based on some criteria. And after that review, staff recommended awarding to Mobile Modular Management Company a lease term as it was the most effective use of the funding available. the first lease, the first term would be 24 months. That can be extended in 12-month increments as needed. We thought that offered the most flexibility instead of purchasing one. There's a kind of a cost-benefit analysis that we ran to see which would be the most effective use of the funds. But purchasing these is quite expensive, and then we don't necessarily have a use for it when we're finished. And the retail market for these is very small. So with all of that in mind, that is why staff is making the recommendation to award the contract to Mobile Modular for a 20-month term lease to provide temporary terminal facilities. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Questions for Danny?
So how much is, because I don't think they'll get it done in 2 years, so what's the third year cost?
It is approximately $1,800 a month. So
not
that's
too bad.
faster math than I'm better at. I will tell you another reason that this company rated so high is their upfront cost was a little higher, their setup cost, but their monthly cost was significantly lower than everyone else. And staff made the determination that that was more prudent given the fact that, as you mentioned, it is likely to take longer than 24 months to have a new terminal sitting there.
Yep, probably so. Any other questions? How about a motion?
Move to approve item 8.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Darren. All righty, we have a motion for approval and a second on item 8. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 9 is consideration of a contract with Mishek and Associates LLC for right-of-way acquisition services for the 45th Street widening, Phase 1, project number 24-0810-01. Seth, how are you tonight?
Pretty good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is requesting approval of a contract with Mishek and Associates for right-of-way acquisition services, specifically for Phase 1 of the 45th Street project. We've worked with Mishek a number of times in the recent past and are very confident in our ability to work with them to get our necessary parcels acquired, get this accomplished. So I provided some additional context in my memo to you all, and the agreement is, of course, attached to the agenda packet, so I won't get too far into the weeds, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about the project or what we're doing.
Any questions?
Can you talk about the timeline of just where we are in the whole overall project?
Yeah, so we're obviously at 90% plans for design in right-of-way acquisition and utility relocation phase. So we'll acquire right-of-way, make sure we have everything, relocate any necessary utilities, and then bid for construction. Obviously, right-of-way acquisition can be very quick and very long at the same time, so it kind of depends on what that schedule can look like. So I think we're hopeful to have this bid by the end of next year. So hopefully right-of-way and utilities are done within a calendar year.
Any other questions? Seth, just so people can hear it, would you talk about what Phase 1 includes?
Yes, sir. So Phase 1 would be just east of Leo to just west of Union.
Right.
And so there'd be a 4-lane section widened from Hardesty Drive, or where the new school would be northwest of there, or going into Smoking Oaks. There'd be a 4-lane section from there to a point west of Union, approximately the Northside Veterinary Clinic, and then it would taper back down to tie in to the existing 2-lane ahead of the Union intersection.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. Any other questions?
Will we be able to go to Phase 2 at what point? When Phase 1 is done, or is there some overlap?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're saying, start Phase 2. So, I mean, obviously, design of Phase 2 could begin,
Yeah, that's my question.
Really, subsequently to 45th Street. Really, we could start Phase 2 design right now.
Okay.
It would just be a question of staff capacity and funding for when we could get Phase 2 going. So, I mean, yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 9.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Mark. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 9. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 10, consideration of acceptance of a grant from the State of Oklahoma American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, for plan, design, and construction of downstream slope repair at Shawnee Twin Lake Number 1 Dam. You're up again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you guys will recall, I previously presented you guys on the status of our Twin Lake Number 1 Dam. We've been in constant communication with OWRB to try to help us identify sources for design and construction on the backside of what we have ongoing, which is the field exploration and geotechnical work that we have ongoing at the lake dam. As a result of that communication, OWRB identified $1 million through the state's ARPA funds. This item is an agreement with OWRB to be designated for planning, design, or construction of any repair at the Shawnee Twin Lake Number 1, stemming from that ongoing field exploration. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Questions? No questions, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. I'll
Thank you,
second.
ma'am. Cammie and Darren. We have a motion and a second for approval on item 10. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 11 is consideration of an ordinance amending Article 1, Chapter 20 of the Shawnee City Code by enacting a new section 20-47 prohibiting sitting or lying down on public sidewalks and sleeping outdoors in downtown Shawnee area, providing for repeal, providing for severability, and providing for codification. Our city manager, Andrea, it is all yours.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. In response to significant feedback received from the public as well as affected property owners, City of Shawnee staff has drafted a no-sit, no-lie ordinance for the purpose of promoting downtown Shawnee as a family-friendly public area, an inviting environment supportive of tourism and businesses and accessible to individuals with disabilities. The proposed ordinance specifically prohibits sitting or lying on public sidewalks and sleeping out of doors within the downtown area of Shawnee only. This ordinance applies to all individuals within the area bounded by Highland, 7th, Kickapoo, and Harrison. However, the ordinance does not apply to any individual experiencing a medical emergency. It also does not apply to those who are participating in a public event, using provided benches or other seating, or waiting in line for goods and services. If approved, the ordinance would go into effect on January 17, 2023. And I believe it is very important to add that city staff did not take this proposed ordinance lightly. As a matter of fact, we researched quite extensively and looked for examples that were successfully implemented elsewhere and found an ordinance implemented by a Texas city that has been in place for 4 years. As you know, it is very difficult to balance the sometimes competing needs of our residents, of our business owners, and of course of our unhoused Shawnee neighbors. Now, prior to the City Commission's vote on this ordinance, I would also like to note that it is really an effort to balance those competing needs. As this ordinance is being considered, city staff is continuing to work towards the establishment of an emergency shelter site for individuals without housing. Following the discovery of the full cost of fire suppression-related needs, efforts previously focused on the city-owned Dockery Park have pivoted towards looking for a replacement location. And as it is unlikely that this new emergency shelter site will be in place ahead of the next cold spell, the planning and preparation activities for an emergency warming station continue. The City of Shawnee Homeless Program Coordinator and the entities, nonprofits, and religious organizations that comprise the Shawnee Homeless Roundtable have been and continue to prepare for the implementation of a cold weather plan. I would also like to thank C3 Church and Pastor Ken Curbo for again offering his facility for the purpose of this warming station. I am tremendously thankful to the volunteers we have for the homeless program. Those who have already agreed to assist with the setup of supplies, food items, and staffing for the warming station. Again, without the volunteers and without the donations, the city could not implement the homeless program that we have. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have on this. Again, this is all about balancing competing needs for those that are unhoused as well as those who live and have a business in the downtown area.
Questions? And we had a lot of discussion tonight, so I'm sure you probably some questions somewhere.
Does this only apply to the right-of-way?
So the no sitting, no lying specifically applies only to public sidewalks. The no sleeping out of doors applies to public areas, and that includes public right-of-ways.
One citizen brought up a question in the citizens' participation about if we had communicated with officers about this and how that would affect them. And I know that we've had multiple discussions where we've met at the library. We've been working on this for a while with various people from the community. Has Chief Mason talked about the implications for the officers and their extra time? Do the police feel that they have the adequate force to enforce this?
So the question is, has this ordinance been coordinated with the police department, and have we had those conversations about potentially extra effort supplied by our police officers? The short answer to that is yes, absolutely, the police department was involved. The second answer to that is the police already receives a tremendous amount of calls for trespassing and other items within the downtown area to which they already respond. However, the state trespassing law is difficult to enforce at best, and so this is much clearer guidance that provides our officers with clear instructions on what to do versus a trespassing law where everybody has to take names and then come back because only a second violation of the trespass is actually enforceable. So yes, short answer, it absolutely has been coordinated with police.
So this was a successful program for 4 years in Texas. Can you tell me if it was a cordoned off section of the city, or was it citywide in Texas?
It is also not a citywide ordinance in the Texas city who has had this particular ordinance on the books since 2019. One of our public speakers this evening brought up the Martin versus Boise lawsuit that was brought up to the Ninth Circuit Court. Then there was a request to the Supreme Court to look at that particular ruling, and they kicked it back to the Ninth Circuit Court. So that is the current law. A citywide ban on no sitting or lying on sidewalks, and then particularly a citywide ban on sleeping out of doors, would push us right into the realm of criminalizing homelessness citywide. And so staff, again, would not recommend that this particular ordinance be taken citywide.
This might be for council, it might be for, you can answer, we're talking about 4 years of this ordinance in Texas. Has it survived challenge?
Joe?
Commissioner Matthews, this actually was passed in that Texas municipality in a different iteration in 2017. In the face of some pressure, they debated and ultimately brought it to its current form and passed that in 2019. This has been in effect since 2019 and has not been challenged in this form since 2019.
Thank you.
What other questions do we have?
speak on it for a minute? I'll be really fast.
No, you go right ahead.
This ordinance frightens me. It frightens me because I see what happens with the homeless people when they are moved or when they're seeking warmth. A lot of the times, well, in every direction of my home, which is in this ward, there's been homes that have caught fire by people trying to stay warm. And in these neighborhoods filled with these old houses so close together, that could be just devastating if that went out of control. However, I'm not sure that this thing is going to work in the way that it is. It's shuffling people north and south, and you can almost pinpoint exactly where they're going to block the right-of-way next, which will be probably Beard and Farrell, which is the main corridors to our town, and that would be very disappointing to see that coming into town from both directions. And after speaking to so many citizens of my ward, the majority of them were really concerned about the limits, and I can't help but wonder if we can extend this to include the entire Ward 3. That's it.
The issue you raised in regard to vacant house fires is one that our fire department and the city manager's office is very much aware of. Those vacant housing fires, until we do have an emergency shelter and appropriate shelter space, will most likely continue. We do have some absentee owners who do not make sure that their vacant structures are properly secured. And so there is always that possibility of somebody trying to seek shelter in a vacant structure. In regard to extending, most of the incidents we see with lying and sitting on sidewalks is currently restricted to the downtown area. We do have some incidents elsewhere, but the majority of all of those is located on downtown. And similar to the meal operation regulation ordinance that was passed not too long ago by the City Commission, we try to encompass, we being city staff, try to encompass only that area that was absolutely necessary at first, with a potential for later on expanding if that was to be a need. What I would also like to reiterate is that staff continues to work on finding a location for the emergency shelter, because ultimately it is housing that is needed. It is emergency shelter that is needed. However, in the meantime, the feedback we have received on our downtown is one that people do not perceive our downtown to be safe, even though crime statistics would tell otherwise. It is a question of perception. And at this point in time, our downtown property owners and business owners are losing business. And our main street is slowly dying, which is not okay.
So this goes into effect in 30 days?
That is correct. It would come into effect on January 17, 2024.
This isn't a substitute for any of our homeless programs that our coordinator is working. There's no intention to slow those down or do away with those. I mean, you know, we heard a lot of people talk about you have to do that balance, as you said, and both of those efforts are going to continue. So
you are absolutely correct. It is a very, very delicate balance of competing needs. We as the city, absolutely want to continue helping our unhoused neighbors. At the same time, we do need to protect those property owners who call Shawnee home as well.
I think it's obviously a very tough issue. I think everyone on both sides cares deeply about people. And I think several have spoken to the balance that we have to find amongst citizens and how we do that, whether they're housed or not. For me, it comes kind of down to one of the questions we ask a lot is, what is the role of government in a particular situation? And, you know, as I look at it, I have a lot of questions and thoughts, and one of the primary roles of government is to provide order and safety for its residents. And right now, the current situation on Main Street has neither safety nor order. So the question is, what is government's role in how we promote that? Because I think we have to care about the dignity of every person. That includes our unhoused friends, and that includes our Main Street business owners. So how we strike that balance, I think, is hard, and it falls on too often problems like these that are years of neglect from bad policy at the federal and even state level. They roll downhill and leave communities to deal with it, and here we are tonight. And so trying to find that balance that I think is a hard question. My question has to do, we have a lot of, we've talked a little bit about the trespass, ways we can and can't enforce the trespass ordinance or laws about trespassing. Can we talk a little bit about how absentee ownership in the downtown area affects this, in the sense of, like, if my understanding is correct, I could have, if I were, and I'm not, but if I were a Main Street business owner, I could have someone 3 feet from my door but not in front of my property, which is essentially restricting access to my business, intimidating customers. But if it's owned by an absentee owner who's not present to sign a trespass ticket, our police have no enforcement power.
Commissioner Matthews, you are absolutely correct. And the police may not become trespassers themselves by getting onto somebody else's property to remove somebody who may be camped out there without the clear instruction of the property owner.
I guess, do you guys care if I ask a litany of questions?
No, you go right ahead, Daniel. Let's get them answered.
We've talked about, there were some comments on the cost of stuff like this. The ordinance, as I read it, has a $10 penalty. As it currently sits, if someone gets a traffic citation, any type of citation, our municipal judge has within his authority, and I understand it's his discretion, he has the ability to assign something like community service, right?
That is correct.
So, and maybe this is a council question, but would it be within his periphery? Because I think we can believe in housing first and still insist on order. And so trying to find that balance of how do we equip people to enter housing and stable housing and affordable housing. But that if we play the long game, we have to play the short game also for the safety of our residents. Would it be reasonable that, like, they could require, as community, instead of community service even, a visit to a homeless resource center, which we have, in order to look for case management and those types of things? Would that be within a judge's discretion?
Yes. Would you like me to elaborate? I mean, it's absolutely.
I would love for you to elaborate.
Yeah, and again, we don't instruct our municipal judge because of the necessary judicial autonomy on how
Sure.
to handle his caseload, but he certainly has that discretion within the statutory construct.
Can we either turn you up a little bit or
lean in?
Yeah.
You go lean in.
He certainly has that discretion within the statutory construct, whether that's waiving fine or other alternative sentencing. That's certainly within his purview.
And in the way the ordinance is written, does it give our law enforcement, I mean, I assume, seeing how Chief Wilson leads his staff, there would be an education period. Does it also give him the same kind of discretion? I'm not real proud of it, but I got pulled over going 42 and a 35. I got a warning. I could have gotten a ticket, but does this allow for officer discretion in how we educate and warn and enforce the ordinance?
It does.
I guess I'll ask one more because I I think you answered it, but I got a call on it today. Would passing this ordinance stop or discourage the city from going after any kind of funding for programming to help people get housed?
We are not aware of any such restriction to grant funding. I can tell you that there is no grant funding at the state level at this time. There is a little bit of funding at the federal level, but by virtue of not yet being our own continuum of care, it is very difficult to receive any kind of grant funding for homeless or housing-related activities. And what I know you all know is city core functionality includes public safety, it includes utilities, it includes transportation. Homelessness a homelessness program is only implemented by the grace of the city commission because it is not a core functionality of the city.
I think the question, and I'm not trying to be rude
No,
or
go ahead.
anything, but I think the question that Commissioner Matthews was asking is, will passing this discourage the city from going after any available grants?
Discourage. I apologize. I misunderstood. I thought it would, the question was, would it prevent us from going? No, it would not discourage us from going.
No, the call I got today was, well, if we pass this, you'll just throw everybody in jail rather than trying to help people.
Absolutely
No.
not.
And I don't think
Yeah.
that's,
No.
No, because, I mean, the point was made by one of our speakers that, I mean, that's a losing money proposition that way. That's not our intention. Obviously, if it was an intention to make money, it wouldn't be a $10 fine. I mean, you're losing money on that, I would imagine, just face value. Probably costs us more to process that than the money you're collecting, would be my guess.
Mr. Mayor, I would add to that the state legislatures implemented new rules that went into effect November 1st with regard to bench warrants for failure to pay fines and things of that nature, that we have adopted policy that comports with state law that would not be conducive to jailing anyone for this offense. In fact, it would not occur under the existing policy pursuant to the state legislature's recently enacted statute.
Yeah, that would have been my guess. As we talked about, I mean, again, it's that balance. I mean, you do something like this to help support the business community, but then also we're going to keep working on our homeless program because that's a big problem, not just here nationwide. I think I saw yesterday that nationwide, they're saying 655,000 plus homeless folks based on last year's point-in-time count, which, of course, we're getting ready to do that again. But that's a lot of folks nationwide, and Shawnee is not immune to that. So
Correct.
we're going to have to keep working both sides of that. Any other questions? Make sure everybody gets them asked. If not, we'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I want to make sure we're clear. You're making a motion for,
The adoption of,
okay, I want to make sure you're making a motion for approval, just so we know what we're voting on. That was your second, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of item 11. We will call the question. Motion carries 6 in favor and 1 against. Joe, just as a point of order, should you have read the title?
I should have.
Can we fix that?
I apologize, I missed it as well. Just so the record is clear, I was voting on an ordinance amending Article 1, Chapter 20 of the Shawnee City Code by enacting a new section 20-47 prohibiting sitting or lying down on public sidewalks and sleeping outdoors in the downtown Shawnee area, providing for repeal, providing for severability, and providing for codification.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Is there anything else we need to do?
No, sir.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 12. Consideration of resolution updating the city fee schedule pursuant to Article 1 of Chapter 20, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions of the Shawnee Municipal Code, and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in whole. Andrea, you are up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As prescribed in Section 20-41 of the Shawnee City Code, a fine plus court costs for a violation of the newly approved ordinance can be assessed when convicted by the court. The related fine amount is proposed to be $10.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 12.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, sir. It's Mark and Darren. This time I'll catch it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution updating the city fee schedule pursuant to Article 1 of Chapter 20, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions of the Shawnee Municipal Code, and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in whole.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 12. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 13, consideration of request for a preliminary plat, Adcock addition of approximately 22.68 acres, case number PPL 04-23. Applicant is TJT Holdings LLC. Mr. Harkins, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is a request for preliminary plat, which is the first step in the development process. This is for a acreage approximately 22.6 acres in size. The applicant is proposing 22 lots in all at this point in time. They are looking at a mix ultimately of commercial and industrial property being located at the site. Staff has reviewed the proposal as well as taking it to the Planning Commission. Their recommendation was to approve the item. Staff's recommendation is concurrent with that. I do believe the applicant is here if by chance you would have questions, but we'd be happy to answer any you might have as well.
Any questions for Ryan? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Sound like Daniel and Cam. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 13. We will call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think it would. Why don't we take about a 5-minute recess? I'm going to let these gentlemen collect their equipment up here. As I saw them breaking down, I knew it was probably about ready. And we will be right back. We got sound. There we go. Can you hear me? All righty. So we are up to item 14, which is a public hearing for request to rezone from A1 Rural Agricultural District to C3 Highway Commercial District, property located northwest of the intersection of East 45th Street and North Harrison Avenue. Case number RZ 12-23. Applicant is TJT Holdings LLC. Mr. Harkins, it's all yours again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is originally was a rezoning request, as noted, from A1 to C3. This is on the northeast side of the community off of 45th and Harrison. This is near the transfer station that we commonly think of that part of the community. It's vacant ground currently. You approved a preliminary plat request before the recess for this item. After additional consideration, following the Planning Commission's review of the item, the applicant has requested withdrawal. They want to sharpen their pencils a little bit more and look over a couple of things while they proceed forward. So no action is needed on the rezoning request at this time.
That's easy then.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. That gets us to item 15, which is also a public hearing for a request to rezone from A1 Rural Agricultural District to I1 Limited Light Industrial District, property located northwest of the intersection of East 45th Street and North Harrison. Case number RZ 13-23. Applicant is TJT Holdings LLC. And one more time.
Yes, sir. So similar to the previous item, the applicant, after the Planning Commission, requested withdrawal of this rezoning request as well. So no additional action is needed at this time by the commission.
Okay, very good. That gets us to item 16, which is acknowledgement of the temporary closure of Celebration of Life Park to the public. And Andrea's got that one for us.
Again, in response to significant feedback received from the public as well as nearby property owners, city staff will be moving forward with the temporary closure of Celebration of Life Park. It is a small pocket park located in the middle of downtown. Celebration of Life Park is one of our 36 city parks. In part due to the April 19 tornado impact, the park now lacks adequate park elements. As a matter of fact, there is truly no park elements left. It is also not enjoying the level of productive traffic it once did. This has resulted in an increase in unsanitary and damaging activities in the park, for which it was not designed. It is for these reasons that city staff will be closing the park for the foreseeable future in order to preserve the property and address growing public health, safety, and welfare concerns. Potential alternatives for the park property, including a reopening of the park after refurbishment, will come before you at a future meeting.
Okay, very good.
No action is needed on this particular item.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Item 17, consideration of the following budget amendments for fiscal year, bless you, 2023-2024. Looks like we have a couple of them. How are you this evening?
Doing well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have a total budget amendment before you today in the amount of $1,121,700 across two funds. So the first budget amendment is for to support the contract that the city has come into agreement with the Shawnee Police Association. This is the collective bargaining agreement for the fiscal year 23-24. And during the budget process, the city included an estimate for this pay plan adjustment of $92,000, which is being held in the city manager's contingency. This amount is in excess of the 2% required by policy. The actual pay plan changes equate to $150,700, which requires a budget amendment of $58,700. And this budget amendment is funded by sales tax revenues in excess of budget estimates within the general fund.
The second budget amendment is for the 2018 half-cent sales tax capital improvement fund for the Santa Fe Depot. The city advertised requests for bids for the Santa Fe Depot project in October. 2 bids were received. Estimated construction amount is $1,286,000. Currently, the 23-24 budget includes $338,280, which requires a budget amendment of $1,063,000. This will cover the cost of construction plus a small contingency. This budget amendment is supported by note proceeds that were received in previous fiscal years, and which is being held in fund balance in the 2018 Capital Improvement Fund. Also, in the previous 2018 half-cent sales tax presentations that I provide every quarter, the depot was allocated $400,000. In light of the bid packages being in excess of that amount, city staff assessed completed and outstanding projects and redirected those allocations to the depot project, along with the previously identified excess revenue collections above project estimates. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Any questions for Lindsay? No questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of item 17. We will call the question.
Did it not prompt you to vote, Commissioner?
No, it didn't.
How would you like to vote on this item?
I'm for it. I'm trying to get back. I don't know where I went.
I think it's,
Oh, wait.
go back.
You're good. Oh, there I am. Yep. It wasn't there.
I don't know if she's can vote though, go back.
It didn't bring my
Is it-
window up like it usually does.
Yeah, go hit that where it says agendas.
Okay.
And then see that green
She's in
box.
She's in there.
Okay, so she's,
in.
it says she's in.
It didn't bring it up.
It just happens.
Oh, well, that happens sometimes. They'll just, they don't, if you don't get a chance, they'll just ask you.
I think the screen timed out, but it did pass. 7 in favor and none against.
Thank you very much. So it passes 7-0. Item 18, consider bids. And this is for the Santa Fe roof and exterior rehabilitation, and it's the award. You're up, sir.
You got me one more time.
There you go.
The Santa Fe Depot has long been an important part of the history of the city of Shawnee and was identified in the 2018 Capital Improvement Sales Tax Initiative. As Lindsay illustrated just a moment ago, we had money set aside for this. Staff has been working with GH2 Architecture for a couple of years, but in earnest in December of 2022, the City Commission approved an amended agreement for GH2 to complete the final design documents to prepare this for bid. In October, a notice to bidders was issued for the opening of this project. It was advertised. We held a pre-bid conference that was well attended. And then on November 30th, staff received and opened the bids. City staff and GH2 Architecture reviewed the proposals. We received 2. The base bids ranged from $1,130,000 to $1,288,000 for the base bids for this project. Staff does recommend awarding the contract to Downey Contracting, who submitted the lowest base bid for the base bid and alternate 4 for a total of $1,286,000. And as Lindsay mentioned earlier, there's budget for a small contingency. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
How long has staff been working on this issue?
Longer than I have worked here, if that's a fair answer. It was an ongoing project when I arrived.
Yeah,
And so now it's getting done.
absolutely. I mean, it's been moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it was identified in 2018, so at minimum,
Absolutely.
it's been on the radar at least that long. I know that they worked with GH2 for some time before that item in 2022 to do the final design. where they worked up all the different things. It's a substantial lift because of the historical nature of the building, so it was very involved to make sure that everything, checked all the boxes along the way for design for this project.
So if I was guessing, you can correct me, and I know you will. We had 16 contractors show up for the mandatory pre-bid conference, and only 2 bid on it. That probably speaks to the very complicated nature of working on a building of that sort, not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can go out and work on a building like that and do it correctly.
I would say that is a fair assessment, yes. The pre-bid conference included a meeting here at City Hall, and then we went on site to look at it. There's likely a number of those people represented subcontractors as well, but I would say that your assessment is correct, given the complexity of this project. I think it...
and if we're going to do it, we absolutely need to do that right, because, that's, a very cherished building here in town, and with the historical nature and the very unique design of that, you only get one shot at this, and you got to do it right. So you got to take your time, and you got to do it right. So anyway, it's nice that we're to this point. So any other questions for Danny?
Since we originally were allocating closer to 400,000, so we have that chunk of money already set aside. The bid comes in over this, of course, and then the difference is what we're going to make up with the capital improvement money.
This project is entirely funded from the 2018 Capital Improvement Fund. Yeah, and so to Lindsay's point earlier, that fund included that initiative included a host of projects, and to date we have been able to, staff reviewed those projects that have been completed or in the works and everything, and kind of reassessed and then allocated those funds to this project, given that deficit between those two things. But it is entirely funded from that 2018
sales tax.
Yep.
Very good.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions?
Did I read right? Downey has 365 as their 365 days as their completion estimate?
Yeah, they're 365 days from the notice to proceed is what they've put down.
Very cool.
And they are anxious to get started.
Yeah. How about a motion?
Motion to approve.
Very good.
Second.
So, Cammie, and I think I heard Daniel. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 18. We will call the question. Motion carries 7-0. Item 19, that's okay. That's good, that's a happy day.
Ken just walked in.
Yeah. Item 19, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports. And Lindsay, it's your turn again.
Yes, sir. All right. So the sales tax for December totaled $2,492,296, which includes $3,124 in interest. This is distributed across 8 funds. The receipts in December are from estimated November sales and final sales in October. December 23 collections are a 13.7% increase over December of last year. However, with the addition of the half-cent sales tax in April, the actual year-over-year is a decrease of 0.5%. When comparing collections to budget projections for November, we're 3% above projections for the month and 8% above collections year-to-date. Use tax for December totaled $376,237, which is a 5.8% above projected collections for the month and an 18% above projections year-to-date. When you combine use tax and the general fund portion of sales tax, the general fund is currently $859,162 above budget projections, and that includes the budget amendment that was just passed for the collective bargaining agreement with the police department. For the third time this year, I've included a new chart in the report. This is a comparison of sales tax collections by month for the calendar year. This comparison includes cities of Durant, Yukon, Ardmore, Muskogee, Bartlesville, Stillwater, and Enid. These cities are selected because they're comparable by population, city tax rate, and the state ranking of overall collections. From November to December, Shawnee's decline in collections from November to December are in line with the other cities. I will say as well, last month and this month, that we do have our budget report that is available on our OpenGov portal is working. I forgot to mention that last, but it was down for quite a while, just trying to get some connectivity issues worked out with the vendor. But that is up and running. So part of the packet tonight, there is a link where citizens can go out and look at our budget to actuals by fund. And so just wanted to mention that. So.
Very good. Any questions for Lindsay while we've got her? Appreciate the report. Thank you so much. Item 20 is administrative reports. We have looks like a draft Shawnee Twin Lakes Master Plan. So, Ryan, it's all yours again.
Thank you, Commissioners and Mr. Mayor. You may recall, or many may recall, almost 2 years ago, the original Lake Advisory Committee brought before the Commission a series of recommendations as part of their final report that was presented by the City Attorney. One of those recommendations was to undertake a master plan for the Twin Lakes area that was also identified as a potential concept and follow-on from the 2019 comprehensive plan. We tried to look at a scope that dealt with a number of issues, and as I shared with one individual in the community today, to thread a needle to balance a number of interests of the community, of recreation, of property owners, of leasees, in the community as a whole, along with the natural resource capability and the water supply of the Twin Lakes. As part of that, we issued a request for proposals that staff, as a committee, selected Half Associates to lead. Their team over the last almost year has provided services in support of this project. Their project manager, Christian Lentz, is here tonight to present the final draft to you. Our goal is to present it tonight. It is on the Community Development Department's website, so people can look at it and download it, and then come back to you in a month seeking your approval. Planning Commission has reviewed the item, and they have already recommended approval to you, but that will come back next month for formal adoption. But with that, I'm going to invite Christian up to the podium, and we'll turn the slide deck on and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Mayor, members of the commission, thank you for having me this evening. Appreciate your time. And in the interest of your time, I'll try to go through this presentation as quickly as possible for you. But I definitely, since it's been such an endeavor over the last several months, definitely wanted to make sure that we were able to give you ample time to give you that overall project overview and a general understanding of the contents of the master plan. And then certainly I and Ryan will be happy to answer any questions you have after that. Make sure this works. Huh. How do we get me back in the presentation here?
Yeah, I think he's working on helping you there.
Yeah. It would help if I pressed the right button to start. You would think I'd never done this before. A few things that I wanted to go through with you this evening, though. I just quickly wanted to give you a brief project overview, an understanding of the structure of the plan or the plan documents, because many of you know there's more than one document to consider. Discuss with you the contents of the future development plan, one of the main components of the overall plan, and then talk to you in very general terms about some of the highlighted recommendations. There's a lot of recommendations in the action program and the plan. Certainly don't have time to go through all of them this evening unless you have specific questions on some. But in the meantime, wanted to make sure that we at least provided you some background on a few of those items. So the overall project purpose was to develop that future development plan for the Twin Lakes area for the next 10 to 20 years. That would include a vision statement, include a future development plan that's actually the product of having gone through a series of what we call growth scenarios. And so that's really just kind of gaming or exercising different potential futures in the Twin Lakes area and how those might change the overall landscape over that 10 to 20-year threshold. And then ultimately have a supporting action plan in place with a document that deals with a lot of other issues above and beyond just future land use and development in the Twin Lakes area. The project actually took about 9 to 10 months to and went through 6 general phases that included public and stakeholder input. As far as input goes, there were visioning meetings that we had with different focus groups that were invited by the city to participate. We actually ended up having 2 public open houses for the project and also a community survey at the beginning of the project. Importantly, what's not shown on the slide is that we worked very closely with an advisory committee as well that was appointed by the city commission and met with that committee a number of times throughout the planning process. Some of the key takeaways. First off, people were saying, look, we want more recreational opportunities around the lake, which you would think, well, certainly people want more opportunity, but what really surprised us was that people were talking less about more recreational opportunity on the water and actually talking about what they could do on the lake side, what other activities might be in the Twin Lakes area to attract them. There certainly was concern about public safety or the ability to provide public safety services to the Twin Lakes area, but above and beyond that, there also were a number of people that talked about docks or the remnants of docks that are in Lake One and wanting to potentially have more proactive code enforcement to have some of those older structures removed. Certainly there was a lot of discussion and acknowledgement about the fact that these lakes are your primary water source, and so there definitely is concern about the overall water quality and protecting the shoreline as well. Also, in doing so, protecting the overall tranquil nature that you have out there, by and large, trying to maintain low density or estate lot development in the Twin Lakes area, but also allowing targeted small-scale commercial in certain areas, improving the permitting system, and by improving the permitting system, hopefully being able to take advantage of revenue opportunities that you as a community are missing from visitation to the lakes area. And then just in general, trying to support or promote access to the lakes as an amenity that's there, not just for the residents that live around the lakes, but for all of the residents of Shawnee. Through the early part of the process, with the support of the advisory committee, we developed a vision statement that, you know, I've heard a couple times the word tonight, balance, with a number of things that you consider. We prepared a vision statement with the advisory committee that tries to balance all of the different interests in the lakes and the lake property. And just highlighting some of the words, I mean, we have to balance the idea that there are residents out there that live in that area, but it also is a broader community resource. And then we also have to balance the desire for additional recreational amenities with the fact that it is that primary water source for the community. So ultimately, in doing that, when we started to work with the committee on the future development plan and supporting actions and strategies for the Twin Lakes Master Plan, there were 4 guiding principles that we were always considering when putting that work program together. So just a word quickly on the plan structure. I say there's 2 documents, but they're kind of the same document. The first document, the technical document, this is the plan in a form that provides all of the background information about the process that took place to prepare the overall master plan, and provides a lot of background information or explanation on the actions and the strategies that are proposed for developing that future vision for the Twin Lakes area. But in addition to that, there is a summary document, because for those individuals who don't want to read all 130 pages, you can get the exact same information through the 38-page summary document. It just boils it down, much easier to digest, but it includes the exact same recommendations. So in considering adoption of the Twin Lakes Master Plan, perhaps at next month's meeting, you'd be considering both documents, but once again, they have the exact same recommendations within them. As far as the future development plan goes, first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that your future development plan could be easily incorporated into your adopted comprehensive plan. And in your comprehensive plan, rather than having just pure land use categories, you have what we call place types or character areas. And basically this says, look, not only are certain types of land uses allowed in certain areas, but if permitted, they should be developed with a certain character, a specific type of character. We continue to adopt that approach to your future development plan that's in your Shawnee Next Horizons plan, and generated a future development plan map that includes 12 different place types. And I will say that 10 of these 12 place types are actually place types that already were pre-existing in your overall comprehensive plan, just to make sure that we had as much conformity between the two plans as possible. But I will say that this master plan for Twin Lakes does kind of tweak that language a little bit from the comprehensive plan, or provide some more clarification for lake-specific considerations. One of the key things to point out about this map, and I'll show it on the next slide here as well, is that by and large, over 83% of the land area is proposed through the planning process to continue to be a low-density residential agricultural type of land use. It's a much smaller percentage of the overall future development plan, where it is proposed that you do have some higher density mixed uses along the eastern side of the study area, because ultimately at the end of the day, providing urban services to the current residents in the Twin Lakes study area is monetarily, it's just a losing proposition. And ultimately, over a 10 to 20 year period, not tomorrow, but over an extended period, if you're ultimately able to significantly increase the population there, which would rely on public water and rely on public wastewater, you actually then over time have, you're able to pull in more revenue to provide additional urban services to the individuals that want to continue to live on the 83% of the land that is maintained in that rural nature. Some supporting recommendations, and I'll try to go through these very quickly, but ultimately there's additional recommendations on 6 different topics in the master plan. And the first is in regard to the lease lot program, and ultimately advising the city continue the surveying efforts that it's doing to actually lay out lease lots of different sizes, some with lakefront, some not with lakefront, and consider whether adjustments to the lease program should take place, and that you actually have a tiered system of fees rather than a flat fee, depending on whether individuals are purchasing a lease on the lake, depending on the amount of acreage that's ultimately being leased out to that leaseholder. The next recommendation, I apologize, I'm having it, is on the shoreline itself, and ultimately the plan recommending the expansion of the shoreline protection zone, specifically around Lake 2. And ultimately, the plan is basically saying that, look, Lake 2 should not develop in the same way that Lake 1 has, and really not necessarily promoting individual lots with direct water access as you currently have on Lake 1 today, but trying to maintain a conservation buffer around Lake 2. Apologize, I just having a little, on mobility, a couple of the highlighted tasks that, or actions that are recommended. First and foremost is looking at roadway cross-sections, specifically developing cross-sections that are appropriate for rural roads rural areas of your community, but also developing cross-sections that might be appropriate in the future for the more developed portions of the Twin Lakes study area as that development occurs down the road. There's also a recommended action on making improvements to the bridges and the underpasses along Lake Road to help get emergency services out to the lake. So these are recommendations that aren't actually in the study area, but when it comes to EMS, fire, public safety access to the lakes, those improvements to Lake Road are definitely essential. As I had indicated before, the plan does recommend, perhaps not in the near term, but in the long term, the extension of public water, public wastewater to the developing area, the more suburbanized area that's proposed within the Twin Lakes study area. We've looked at that through the process. We understand those are pretty extensive upfront costs, but ultimately we also recognize that oftentimes these things are not going to happen unless you actually have a private sector partner that you know is going to develop a substantial area within any given part of your community. In talking about recreation, one of the highlighted recommendations is actually charging user fees. And ultimately, the plan does recommend that the recreation areas around the lake all do have gate access and that you are charging user fees to individuals that are bringing their vehicles, bringing their boats. Ultimately, there is a lot of revenue that can be captured by doing so that the city isn't currently capturing today. And we know from a number of case studies with other communities that installing gated access and user fees is not actually a deterrent to the amount of visitation that you get at a particular recreation area. The other thing about the user fees and the gated access is that it then also allows you to better manage the actual number of boats that are ultimately going to be on the lake at any given time. In talking about public health, the plan does promote the construction of the police dock on the lakes, and then also does make recommendations on proactive code enforcement for select problems such as the docks that we had talked about. And then ultimately, under natural features, a couple of the highlighted recommendations are that regarding boating access, the plan indicates that on Lake 2 in particular, we're not necessarily saying that non-motorized or motorized boats should be prohibited, but we are suggesting in the plan that no wake zones be established for certain areas along Lake 2. And then also we come back to the recommendations on shoreline restoration as well. So certainly, as you well know, the plan itself and the breadth of the recommendations in the plan are much more extensive than I've provided in my overview this evening, but that's just a taste of what's in the overall plan document. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions, or if I can't, Ryan as well.
Very good. Questions? No questions? Okay. Very good report. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Glad to see that progressing. Okay. Item 21 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. That gets us to item 22, commissioner comments. We'll let the birthday girl start.
I don't know, it could be a lot or it could be none at all. I think I'll pass tonight.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
I'm it, huh?
It's not your birthday, Mark, but we'll let you
Thanks
go
for
next.
the birthday wish.
Lindsay, I appreciate the comparisons for the other cities of our size. It's kind of interesting to look at and to get a better gauge on how we're doing. Glad to see some movement on 45th, on the Santa Fe Depot, on the roof on the senior citizens. So got a lot, I know Seth's probably knee deep and stuff, but they got a lot going on. Christmas parade went off well. The The homeless, that's a tough call. I mean, it's hard to cure, and it's just going to be a long term. And I know the city's working diligently on places to put people. You know, I'm sure Salvation Army, but that's going to take a long time for us to get a handle on. But I think it's probably a step in the right direction. Just we have to do something because it's such a hardship on everybody there that owns property, and it's keeping the general public from going downtown. So hard decision, but anyway, we have to do something. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
I want to thank staff for preparation. There was a lot in this. A lot of detail in this, a lot of work. A lot of things in this agenda have been going on for, excuse me, multiple years. The homeless has been an ongoing project and continues to go on. I think we're going to make some strides in that very soon. It's nice to see the Lake Master Plan here for us to review. Great progress on the depot. That's really good news. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm excited to see depot progress. And I wanted to thank everyone for welcoming me to the commission, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, staff, for all of the hard work preparing for tonight's agenda. There was a lot accomplished. We spent a lot of time talking about a really hard item agenda. The issue is so complex, and for those of you who regularly attend meetings, you know that the unhoused issue in our downtown area has been the topic of so many citizen comments and sources of conversations that I've had with citizens and fellow business owners downtown. I want to make sure that the general public understands that if this is the first time kind of tuning in or getting involved because it's such an important topic and many people care about this topic. So the staff and the commissioners up here have been working on this for quite some time, not this agenda item, but working on some solutions, trying to find some balance, I think was a good word for tonight. It's a really difficult position to be in because you certainly don't want to make anyone's life harder than it already is, and that's not what this is about. I would have a really hard time supporting this if I didn't have the knowledge and faith in the staff and the community partners that they will be continuing to pursue solutions for the unhoused in those programs that have started. Some of the things aren't quite there yet, but we have people diligently working on some good solutions. And then on the flip side, I didn't speak earlier, I'm so close to this issue because I own a business downtown. I've been there for a little more than 5 years. I'm downtown's biggest cheerleader, I like to think. I try to recruit other businesses to open downtown, but it definitely has been harder in the last year. It's been harder because there's more visibility of the unhoused in the downtown area. There might not be more, but the visibility has created an issue with the PR of downtown. So it's hard when we've got cameras broadcasting 24/7 on YouTube. It's and the highlights might be negative from posts and things like that. It's very difficult to convince citizens to continue to come to our downtown area. So, and there are people that live down there as well. So it's not just business owners. It is also a place where residents live as well. And more are moving down there as we have more development of those properties. We desperately need help from our state and perhaps our county. I think to hold some of the vacant property owners more accountable. Other states have set forth some, maybe some pathways that we could follow, but the municipalities are just kind of like Daniel said earlier, getting the end of everything and then having to deal with the repercussions of there being no support in some of those other areas. So I'd like to see us move towards holding vacant owners accountable, and hope that all of the people that showed up tonight, I will continue to be involved and participate, and we appreciate you guys coming. This is in no way, it's not the business owners of downtown against the homeless people. The businesses in downtown are Amazon and Walmart. They're mom and pop shops that some of them have been there, 30 years, and they're struggling, and it's a real thing. And that can be true while also we want to help the homeless people. Those two things can be true at the same time. So although it was a difficult task, I appreciate staff continuing to listen and trying to find balance, and I'm hoping that this helps us kind of move forward with that as we look for solutions. Very excited to see the kind of some of the end results of all of the years of the depot planning and trying to find funding, and staff has completed that process, and really excited to see that depot get fixed up. Another great thing for downtown. In general, just want to wish everyone happy holidays. Again, it's my annual time to say shop local. Amazon can probably still save you, but soon they won't be able to. So shop local, everyone, this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I wrote down the word culmination earlier, and so many of our agenda items tonight were a culmination of months and years of work and variety of things. So I'll be quick. Another successful, great night for the Christmas parade. Whoever coordinated the weather, good job. It's great to see so many people downtown hanging out, and just a great event that I remember all the way back from my childhood, so it's always fun. I want to say congratulations to Chairman Barrett with the CPN on his induction to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. That was a great honor, and I got to watch his speech, a great night presented by another former Shawnee resident, Governor Brad Henry, and so that was cool to see. The topic of the night, which seemed to be the ordinance, I think it's, compassion has to cut both ways. And we have to have compassion for all people, those that find themselves in an unfortunate, unhoused situation, but also for local residents and business owners, and trying to find that balance is tough. I'd written in my notes ahead of the meeting something that was very similar to what was said by Mr. Morris about, and I think it's in the balance, how do we help the homeless and end vagrancy? I think that's the balance we try to strike in this. It's a tough decision, but we have to play the long game and the short game at the same time. And I know I talk about it a lot, but what is the function and the purpose of municipal government? It's order and safety, and that's what we tried to provide tonight. Good to see the action and pass it on the depot to get that process moving. It's a treasured city asset, and so to be able to restore it to its glory will be awesome. Sales tax numbers, I want to quickly say I appreciate Lindsay and her team for their budget policies, because while it's mostly good news, we did see our kind of first softening of numbers and a responsible fiscal approach to budgeting that Lindsay and her team have implemented. And I will note this several times, for the first time in the history of our city, having reserve funds and contingencies are for exactly times like these that we can see a little softening and not have to worry, because staff has prepared and been responsible. And so just want to say thanks for your foresight. And then, as Commissioner Seymour said, the charts and graphs are really helpful in understanding exactly where we are. But also, I love the other city comparison, because it's not where we are in a blind spot, but it lets us really see and measure where we are. And then I just want to say, quickly, I just want a statement of support for Chief Wilson and the Shawnee Police Department. I've been fortunate to see their work on all sides. I've watched them work. I've seen their policy and presentations they've done here. I've also served on a jury that's got to see an inside look at the way they investigate and the way that they treat people. And we are fortunate to have the police department we do. And just want to issue a quick statement of support for Chief and the force. Finally, Merry Christmas to everyone and you and your families. Hope it's a great holiday season.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to try to go really fast here. Again, congratulations to Corporal Chris. Very neat award and very well deserved. Also very glad to see all the progress on these long-term projects that we've been working on. 45th Street Depot, like master plan, it's good to see progress and movement on those. Obviously the big topic of the night was homeless, and Daniel, I think you said it very well about playing the short game and the long game. I know personally I would not have been in favor of doing this if I wasn't confident that we were still playing that long game. And we know that what we did tonight is not a solution to homelessness. It's not near. I mean, it's going to be a very complex issue that we're going to have to play that long game, and we're going to have to, as some of the speakers said earlier, and sadly they're all gone now, but that's not the reason. You know, we need to work on the reasons that these people are homeless. We need to work on housing. There's things that, you know, we may be able to do as a city, but we're going to need help, as Cammie said, from the county and from the state and even the federal government. But I know that our folks are working on that, and today was just one step, but we have so many more things to do. And I know there's some folks that probably aren't happy with what we did tonight, and you know, if they wait just long enough, they'll probably see things that they're going to be more happy with. So I know we're looking at the big picture. As some of you have mentioned, and Daniel, you stole my line about the weather. The parade was amazing, and the weather was unreal. I think it was 70 degrees right before the start of the parade. Also want to thank staff for the reports and all the hard work and everything I know that goes into putting an agenda like this together. And do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and everybody have a very wonderful and safe holiday season. So with that, we are going to recess the City Commission meeting by the power of the chair to convene the Shawnee Airport Authority and the Shawnee Municipal Authority. So we're going to have to back out of these agendas and leave this meeting, and then we'll have to sign into the next. And I think I have managed to mess that up. It is playing games with me.
SMA?
We are...
Wait, which one? Airport or SMA?
Next is the Airport Authority. And you guys just let me know when everybody gets in.
I'm in.
Yes.
You good, Yana? You two good there? Everybody good down this end? All righty. Looks like we're all good. Okay. Item 1 is consider the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Cammie. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We will call the question.
Commissioner Frazier didn't give you a proxy vote.
I would approve it, yeah.
It just does that.
It's a move.
Motion, yeah, motion passes 7-0. Item 2 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned, and we will move on to the municipal authority, so we will back out of this one.
Am I right? Yes, sir.
Did you get in okay? Okay, good. Everybody good there? All righty, we'll move forward. Item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Cammie and Darren. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call a question. And its motion passes 7-0. Item 2 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned. We're going to reconvene back into the city commission meeting at item 23 by power of the chair. Item 23, I'm going to get out of here now. Everybody get on it okay? Okay. Item 23 is consider an executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding public works.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
Daniel and Darren. So we have a motion and a second to approve item 23. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. So we will go down the hall and we will be back. got mic on or not. Okay, so we are back. Item 24 is consider matters discussed in executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding public works. So do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize and direct the filing of a legal proceeding pursuant to Title 50, Section 17 of the Oklahoma statutes by the City of Shawnee in the District Court of Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, for the purpose of abating the nuisance at the Fairview Mausoleum.
Very good.
I'll second.
Daniel and Darren. Okay, we have a motion and a second. On item 24, we will call the question.
No, it didn't pop up. Would you like to go for it?
Motion carries 7-0. Item 25 is adjournment, so thank you everyone for coming tonight.